Girls of Reddit, what was the best flirting technique someone did to you? Like and subscribe for 10 years of luck. A guy told me that he liked my shoes and asked where I'd gotten them. We were in a bowling alley, told me he liked to draw and asked for my number so he could send me some examples. Then he free-handed a picture of a moose for me. I met my, now, husband while I was in the hospital. He worked there and I was a frequent patient unfortunately. Anyway, he would bring daffodils to my room. Or apple juice. He snuck me extra warm blankets and would sit with me before, after his shift. When I got out, he offered to get groceries and wash my hair. All of it just as a friend. He knew I wasn't interested in dating while going through everything and so he was just there. Turns out I happen to like him there and we are celebrating our 12th anniversary this year. I was playing my 3DS on the train and a guy sat across from me, said "Excuse me, can I ask what you're playing?" And we struck up a conversation. I was so engaged that I almost missed my stop. Afterwards we would sit and talk on our way home and he started gifting me books from his work. That's when I asked him out. It was my first day in middle school and this kid asked to see my planner. I handed it to him and he flipped to the contact section and left me his name and number. I'll never forget how smooth he was. He said, "I have a riddle for you." Then he took my hand and traced a line down the middle of my palm. "This is a river. It is too wide to jump over, too deep to wade across, too fast to swim across, and too long to go around. There is a bunny stuck on one side of it. How does the bunny cross the river?" After about 10 minutes of me trying to guess the answer I gave up and asked him how the bunny got across the river. He said, "Who cares? I just wanted to hold your hand." I was walking on my university campus, tripped and dropped my books. Heeled sandals, raised sidewalk. He asked me if I was okay, and picked up my books. He then carried my books and walked me to class. We chatted the entire walk, and when we got to my class, he asked for my phone number. I tore off a piece of paper, and wrote it, but without my name. I wanted to see if he was listening when I told him. He listened. We've been married over 20 years. He makes me smile every day. He bought me the book I was looking at in the bookstore, invited me over to watch Gordon Ramsay anger compilations and make candy bugs, showing up when promised or when he felt like it while others did not so much. We are married now. We were walking quietly at night and he stopped, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I think you just broke my writer's block." Not sure if it was a technique, it seemed genuine. When we parted ways he went home and wrote the first song he'd written in months. But it was super hot and I melted when he said it. Not sure if this counts as flirting, but he read my favorite book just so we'd have something in common to talk about. Flirted with my dog first, asking me my favorite Lego Star Wars character. He kind of ruined it though by trying to kiss me 2 minutes later. Kindergarten. We trained martial arts together and he bought me my first GI. I thought it was so kind and sweet. 6 years later and we're now married. Last year of college for us. He'd show up after my classes and follow me around everywhere, talking incessantly. When he'd see me on campus he'd run over to say hi. I would flirt by sometimes picking a little wildflower to give to him when I saw him next that day. He'd wear it in his shirt or behind his ear. We now have 2 sons and he's taught the older one, younger as a baby, to give me little wildflowers when we're out walking together. He did my dishes. "Your pants are unzipped." Tried it as a young adult and worked about half the time. Not a woman but once my buddy practiced on me before he went to talk to a girl he liked. He said he liked my huge tits and ass and wondered if I'd like to sit on his penis. Didn't work on the girl but I certainly felt something spark inside when he tried it on me, made eye contact, asked interesting questions, listened to my answers and responded. He didn't make the conversation about him. This is a tricky one. The thing about flirting is that it only feels good if you actually like the person. When you like somebody, if they offer you a lift we think is kinda sleek, but if you don't like them, is kinda creepy. First time I hung out at my current BF's house before we started dating. We were laying on the floor listening to records and he turned to ask me what time it was. I think it was 4 if I remember. He then said, "Wow, you've been here 4 hours and I haven't kissed you yet?" Still makes me smile, and needless to say, It worked very well. I once had a guy walk up to me at a bar and said, "Hello, my name is Rob and I'll be hitting on you tonight, what can I get you to drink?" Silly, playful, and direct. We dated for about 8 months. I had a boyfriend who was really into working out and martial arts. I asked him to show me a move and he swept my feet out from under me, then caught me and kissed me. Hottest thing ever. He bought me a giant bag of beef jerky. A few years later he was tossing pebbles at my dorm window with another bag of beef jerky and roses. He was a great boyfriend. Ended up being a shitty husband though. Will always be in love with the person he was before that, however. He bought me wings when I was having a hard, bad day. We're still together to this day. Two come to mind, very different circumstances. A guy in a bar asked me if I knew how to waltz and proceeded to try and teach me. He 100% had no idea what the fuck he was doing, but all the credit for trying. A guest at the hotel I worked at broke their door lock so couldn't get in. So I asked the kitchen porter to help, and he broke it open in one solid move. I cannot begin to express how damn effective that was. Was riding home with the friends group back in 2008. We stopped to drop off the one guy, and I got out to stretch. I mentioned that the stars were so much more visible up there in the mountains and he said, "Yeah, they're really pretty. Wish I had someone to watch 'em with." I'm a sucker for corny guys. We got married the next year and are celebrating 12 years this June, by doing nothing. My husband was quiet and it was mysterious, which required no flirting. I wanted to know more about him and had a fun challenge to get him to talk. The ones that always came off strong or super outgoing flirty made me red to the face, nervous, and freaked out. Now we've been together for 14 years in the most chill relationship ever. Edit. His friends when I asked about him said who? Oh, that's Danny, he's the asshole. He asked me if I wanted to do an activity. He asked for nudes. I sent him hentai, then he sent me memes. Then I sent him memes. When I met my first BF, we were at a car show. We talked, flirted for a bit and then instead of asking for my number, he gave me his number. He left it completely up to me if I wanted to contact him again or not. I was insanely shy, but I liked him, so I texted him the next day and it led to dating for 2 years. Might not work on every girl, but I liked the no-pressure approach he took. He basically didn't flirt, which made me feel very comfortable because I didn't have to think about how to handle the flirting. I'm really bad at it myself. He was confident enough to ask me out quickly. We had a great time and he was genuinely interesting and cool. We're 5 months in. Dude is seriously the best. We met at a Halloween house party and when I was going to leave he walked me to the room with all the coats, which also happened to be a kid's room, and he asked me what color crayon would you like to write your phone number with. I married him. Celebrated 20 years. My former fiancé, he passed away, went 100% cheesy pickup lines but in the goofiest way. He was nervous and I guess had no clue what to say, so he went for broke lol. It went from "hello how are you?" to a cheesy dad joke "why couldn't the bicycle stand up on its own?" to the cheesy pickup lines "taps pockets like he's looking for something." I lost my number, can I have yours? Although I could tell he was nervous, he had an air of confidence that I was drawn to and he had a great smile, was on a date, had been talking about books and authors. He asked me if I wanted to go back to his place to check out his book collection. Mine was bigger. But the sex was great. Met a guy through a mutual friend and we all went to karaoke the night. He got up maybe 3 times to sing. While singing Kryptonite I realized he was keeping eye contact with me as he sang, singing to me rather than the bar at large. This was of course a small part of the night and flirting, but always stuck with me. June 1st will be our 12-year anniversary together. Honestly, just talking to me like a person. Pickup lines, telling you you're pretty, all that shit is a waste. Best task out was hands down when a guy introduced himself with a handshake and said he would love to get to know me over lunch. The handshake sent me. That never happens, not a girl, but the best move is to make a little peace sign then stick your tongue in between the fingers. It means you love peace so much you could even lick it. They're down with that. Not me but my mom. My mom and dad were set up by a friend of theirs. My mom is completely deaf, Upon being told this before he met her, my dad went out and learned as much sign language as he could before he met her. My mom doesn't know sign language. Adorable and hilarious. My first boyfriend came into the store where I was working and just straight up told me he had seen me through the window and needed to run home to clean up, put on something nice so he could come back and ask me on a date. It was super endearing smile. Met my BF online when there was an 8-hour time difference between us. He was willing to wake up at 4 a.m. to have a Skype call with me, even though we were just strangers turned friends at the time. My now husband was the first, and last, guy I dated that opened doors for me and generally was gentlemanly and always respectful towards me. He was so enthusiastic to introduce me to his friends.